Hey folks, welcome to the pre-show. The pre-show with color being called by me. And it's Friday night, and Friday nights are ghost nights. So I want you all to roust up your ghost stories and call in. Now, when you call in, you can use the link that is below the window here. I will paste it in here. Some of you have called. Some of you many times have called. Let's see. Some of those, a lot of you who haven't done much calling to the show, and you've got a good ghost story to tell, call in and let's do it. And we started 4 minutes after the top of the hour. This is just the pre-show, the warm-up. I should have a comic in here. And I just flew in from Boston, and man, are my arms tired. Try the veal. Tip your waitress. There was the comedy show to start our show this evening. And so I thought it'd be a good night to just kind of open up the mic a little bit and get your stories, because I know a lot of you have some crazy stories out there. And so let's see if we can hear some good stories from you guys. And my face is funny enough. Wakata wakata. Padam ching, Uncle Dave. So welcome, everybody. Uncle Dave is here. Chuck Thurston is here. Chuck, I expect you to call in with a good story tonight. We've got Field Guy is here. And from Louisiana, Matthew Sainsbury from Barbados. We've got Susie Q from, I can't remember where she is. She's somewhere in the Midwest, the Appalachian to the south. Somewhere in that range. Chuck Hendrickson is here. Good evening, Chuck. You could give us a little update. Oh wait, were you there? Were you there with Ben last night? There's an update to a little story from the festival from last weekend. Let's see, what do we got? We got 2 minutes and 15 seconds after the hour. We got about a minute and 45, and we go live. Morgan Snow, good to see you. And who else we got in here so far? Who's stacking up in here? ArgB3, good to see you. You say strange times. We are in strange times indeed. Call in and share some with us. And I'm just going through the list. Rudy Kessler is here. The dog, spelled with a W. And of course, Uncle Dave. I think I said Uncle Dave already. Susie Q, Matthew, Matt Finn, Master Finn has barded the deck, and he is the master and commander of this here chat room. So listen to what he says. And let's see who else we got. It's coming in. Grumpy Stack. Call with your ghost stories, Grumpy. You should. It's your obligation as a member of this channel. So let's see, 3 minutes, 34 seconds. That's what it is. All right. So I hope everybody had a great day. Oh, there's one thing missing here. Let's just get the banner going. Boom. There it is, scrolling across the bottom of your screen. And we're all set to go. We should automatically connect to the server in 4 seconds. 3. We're going dark.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
The Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Happy Friday evening, folks. Welcome to the program. I am your host, Scotty Roberts, of this, my show, the Intrepid radio program. Now in its, 13th year. Can you believe that? Since we launched Intrepid Radio back in 2000. Well, no, it's shorter than that. I did my math wrong. Math is hard. If I had long blonde hair, I'd curl it in my finger. 2011, we launched Intrepid Radio. And so we've been going, 11 years, almost 12 years. And so welcome to the program. Glad to have you here. You can go over to subspace.radio to hear the audio version of this show and catch it in its audio archive over on the radio station. Or you can check it out on Facebook. Come over to my Facebook page, Facebook page for Intrepid Radio, and also the Facebook page for Subspace Radio. And you can hear it there and watch the video simulcast, or come over to my YouTube channel, which is where I like to camp out. That's where the main chat room is. Just go over to youtube.com/Scotty Roberts and join the rest of the Intrepids who are already here, stacking up over in the chat room. Many of you, I can't see your faces, so if you're there, come on in and say hi. And tonight, we've got kind of an open mic thing going on. I'm going to, one more time, paste the invite for coming into the chat room. And now, I don't want this to be like school, where teachers' pets and favorites are the first ones to come on in. Maybe you're the bravest and the boldest and have cool stories, but let's make a little room for people who maybe haven't had a chance to call into the show. But we'll take everybody's calls that we can, that will fit everybody in. I want to hear your best. It doesn't have to be scariest. Perhaps the most moving experience you had. A ghostly experience, ghostly encounters. You could even tell tales that you know of that are within your sphere of influence. But there's that chat room number. The chat line number. Now, remember, this is a video show you're calling into with that link. So you don't have to show your face. You can just call in and take it audibly, or give it audibly, and we'll take it audibly. And or you can come in with your cam on, and we'll see your good-looking faces. So come on in. I'd like to see you here. What's the update on Fest? Here's a little update. Chuck Henriksen, I believe, is in the chat room. And I think maybe if he wants to call in, there's just a little update to something that we bumped into last week. And it was a story that Chuck told us that we had not heard. For the years I was out at Fest, and the years since then, I had never heard this tale. And we have asked before, did anybody ever die out at festival? Well, we've had lots of friends who did festival that have passed on. But out at festival itself, there is... thank you, Matthew Sainsbury, for giving other people a chance. I appreciate that. Let's see. And you've got a strong cough. So if you feel up to it a little later, you call in too with your stories. But Chuck was telling us that as he worked as safety services out there, which was security, and they always did a sweep of the festival grounds and buildings within, I think, a week of the opening day of the festival season. And in one of the buildings down at the fest, they found um, a corpse up on the second floor. It was, I think I saw that it was a pub down there or something like that. But I thought it was a crafter's shop. But if Chuck is here and wants to call in, he can give me the better details. But the fest opens the second weekend in August every year when it's pretty hot up here. So they went up and they're checking around and they find this corpse. He's laying down, kind of propped up a little bit on the wall, like he had leaned there and died in his sleep. So the thought was that perhaps he had come there in the colder months, the winter, thinking he could find a little shelter from the cold. And there's no heat in the building, there's no insulation in the building. It's their sets, and they're sets with rooms. It'd be like a clubhouse. And so there wasn't really any warmth, maybe just a blockage of the severe cold and the wind. But he apparently fell asleep there and froze to death. And so it was very interesting. We went after the show last weekend, Saturday night. We went over to that building and it was all dark. There's no lights. And we're out in the, it's got to be about 11 o'clock at night. Excuse me. And we stood in front of that building, and because it was all closed up, and we asked, this is the story I gave you already. We asked if anybody was there, the man specifically who took shelter here and perhaps shelter from the cold and probably froze to death and died. And we got lots of little bits and pieces on the spirit box. And we had the Frank's box with us. It's the one that's sitting behind me back here. And on that Frank's box, we heard a woman say, "Haunted." And so we thought, oh, that's interesting. So somebody's telling us the building is haunted. And then we heard a man's voice a few minutes later say, "Freezing," or "I'm freezing." I couldn't remember which it was. And so I was looking at, I don't think we're going to get Chuck in here. He might have stepped away. But I'll tell you what I saw in some messages. Ben is another guy that is security out there. And he went down there with us last Saturday night. Rainey, me, Chuck, Nicole, who might be in the chat room, and Ben were there. And so we walked down there, and I'm scrolling through. It says, let's see. All right. I'm looking for where this little chat started. Here it is. Ben said it was just at the Tower Tavern where the homeless guy was. We got "I'm cold" and "Going to Sleep" on the SB7, the spirit box. So if that isn't sad all by itself, last week we got "I'm freezing," we got "Haunted," and then we got they got a man's voice last night that said "I'm cold." I got to remember exactly what he said here. Where'd that go? It jumped back on me here. Where'd it go? I gotta scroll back. Was just down at the Tower Tavern where the homeless guy was, where they found this corpse. And he says, we got "I'm cold" and "Going to Sleep" on the spirit box. And he says, yep, didn't we get "I'm cold" last week and we got "I'm freezing"? Yes, we did. Well, freezing, said Chuck. And the same message, though, pretty much. Very active tonight, he said. Last night we got growls on EVPs at all 3 spots. We generally don't do EVPs at the festival. We do the Spirit Box, but that's where you'll pick up some of that stuff. So I thought that was interesting. There's a little tag on to the story from last week. So when you go to a place where somebody died, and you know how they died, they froze to death, and you start getting messages like, I'm cold, I'm freezing, I fell asleep, and there he is. And then somebody else coming through saying haunted. So that's a pretty specific words coming through. Now, what you've got to do when you're an investigator, you've got to ask, am I getting somebody's ghost? Am I getting somebody that is mimicking in the spirit world? Is it something totally different, something interdimensional, obviously? So it's very interesting. Makes it more personal for sure, says Matt Finn. So yeah, that's some pretty crazy stuff. Hi, Barbie D. Good to see you in the chat room tonight. David Castle, good to see you coming in. And anybody now, I want to open it up to you guys. If you who have never called the show would like to call in, nothing to be nervous about. It's just us. And besides, what's anybody going to do? You see me, I screw up all the time. I forget to turn my mic up. I fumble over my words sometimes. I forget what I'm going to say. I get tired out. And I go, I'm bored. I get bored and I change the topic. You can see what it's like. It's real easy. So all you got to do is give us a call on the show. I'll post the link again right now in the chat room. You give us a call, and we'll treat it like it's a phone call. It's that easy. Only we can see your face, too, if you want us to. So otherwise, just make it a call without cam. Hey, Sarah Yusuf. Link in the description. Yep, it's in the description, and it's right here. I just pasted it in as well for those of you who would like it. I plan to haunt no less than 87 locations when I'm gone. You're going to be a busy boy over on the other side, field guy. The show is as real as it gets, along with the ups and downs. Yeah, as long as thank you, Matt Finn. Yeah, this show is about as real as it gets. Maybe that's why I'm not in the big time, because we're a little too loose at the edges. So I try to make up for it with good content. So Beth Kirkham, good evening. Yeah, we're looking for good ghost stories. You got one? I pasted the it's in the description below the video window, but there it is again for anybody. Copy that link, paste it into your browser window, and you can call in. I'll see you pop in. You won't just pop in on your own. I have to see you and then bring you into the show. So your little window will pop up right below this window, this main window. So as far as ghost stories, that's probably the most recent one I have, is that little encounter, which now has been verified with the same kinds of things from somebody else. And not just the same words. It wasn't like a loop. He didn't say I'm freezing. This time he said I'm cold. And he also said I fell asleep. So that's, to me, that's a bit of interactivity. Now, I'd like to go back out there and do a little bit more and see if we can strike up a little more of a conversation. Field Guy says Louisiana is the most haunted, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'm going to add to it. There you go, Field Guy. You go ahead and you haunt your Louisiana haunts. Haunt the shoe store. So, hey, Deb Treadway, I think I saw you come in. Is that who I saw? Fly by my face on here. Somebody said, hey, Deb. I'm thinking that was Deb Treadway. Chuck Thurston, I tend to go with the basic. Here, let me pull that up so I can read it. I tend to go with the basic digital voice recorder with some super sensitive mics. Also, sometimes using ultrasonic mics as well. Thing with ultrasonic, it should never have a human voice on it. That's interesting. I did not know that because I don't use those. But I should. I really ought to. Sorry, Yusuf says I will always haunt places with good food. But can you eat the good food? We watched this little show, and we just watched an episode of it. It's a half an hour show on one of the channels. I don't even remember what channel it is. Maybe Hulu or something like that. But it's the I see Beth. Beth, I'll get to you in just a second here. Hang on. We watched the show Ghosts. Have you seen that one with the couple who bought the inn somewhere out east in New England, and old mansion, and it's haunted by several ghosts over the period of time? It's a comedy, and man, it started as there was a Brit comedy that was very much like it, and this is just the American version, and it's really well worth watching if you want to see the lighter side of the paranormal. But just tonight, there was a Revolutionary War officer who's one of the ghosts, and he's standing over a feast that's been spread, and he goes, "Oh, I wish I could eat that." And so he was having a good time with it. Anyway, let's add Beth to the stream. Hey, Beth, how you doing? Oh, that's not Beth.
How are you? How do I get rid of
Do I have sound? There we are.
Good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Go right ahead, Beth.
Okay. Are you experiencing an echo on your end?
Yeah, let me. I'm gonna plug in my mic because now everybody out there watching this show, I got to turn this. You're gonna see parts of my unboxed office.
I don't have.
Over there, because I got to reach around to the back side of my computer to find my jack. There we go. All right. And let's turn it back around to the right spot. And let me get my ear on. All right. There we go. Is that echo diminished for you? I was getting a little echoey feedback. All right, Beth. Let her roll. Let her rip. Tell us about it.
Okay, so many years ago, I cleaned houses for a living. And I cleaned one off of Grand Avenue on Okay, wait. There. And can you still hear me? Okay. And so this house was really weird. We had a dog who would always go to the stairs and see like mist and shadows. I would hear my name being called and things like that on the second floor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I went down to the basement, I really didn't experience this one day only. I was down there just switching a little laundry like I usually do, and I was just terrified. Horrible feeling that I had to hide, I had to run, I had to get out of there. I've never had any feeling like that before in that or anywhere else. So I just gather up a load of laundry and walk back up the stairs. Okay, so the owner comes and asks her, "So what's going on in this house that we hear these noises?" I had this. She says, "Oh, well, it was broken up in the 60s. It was broken up into apartments, and there were 2 murders, one on the second floor and then one in the basement." So that's my ghost story. Oh no, I have another one. When I was a kid,
tell us another one.
Whoa, there.
Tell us another one.
Oh, when I was a kid, I was babysitting. I babysat this little girl in this big mansion. I gotta mute my. And in this big house, not a mansion, but it was a huge 3-story house. And it was me and her one night. I was sitting in the kitchen. She was upstairs sleeping. She was like 6. I was like 14. And all of a sudden, I heard the piano playing. So I thought she had snuck downstairs and was messing around. So I go up the servants' entrance, and where her bedroom was at the top of that, the maid's room, and she's in there sleeping. And that piano is playing. So I thought, oh, one of the older kids snuck in. There were kids my age and just a few years younger. So I walk down the hallway and down the front stairs as quietly as I can. And I get down to the landing. That piano's still playing. And it was like a sunken living room. So I tiptoe down so I can see up where the piano is. And only then, when I looked around to look at the piano, it stopped playing. Oh, hang on. Oh, there. There, now I can hear you. So, yeah, I've had some experiences, really. I saw one and one only full body apparition. So, yeah, I've had some experiences, really. I saw one and one only full body apparition. So, yeah, I've had some experiences. Oh, I'm getting a terrible echo. I saw one and one only full body apparition. So, yeah, I've had some experiences. Oh, we're on a loop. I saw one and one only full body apparition. We're on a loop. I gotta turn my... Okay. Oh. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. What is going on with this stupid...
There we go. Boy, we're having a couple of sounds. And let me try this again to add David. There he is. Hey, David. How you doing, sir?
How you doing, Captain?
Absolutely great. Good to see you, brother.
Excellent. Great to see you.
So what you got going on?
I'm real heavy into meditating, and I always meditate right before I go to bed. Anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes before I go to sleep, I meditate. Mm-hmm. And one night, I think it was September 17th, not this year, but last year, that I was meditating. And for some reason, I had to have an urge to get up. For some reason, I had to pee. And I was deep into meditation, so I had to bring my body back. And I brought myself back into my body, and I got back and I tried to move, and I was totally frozen. And I thought first it wasn't a big deal. I thought maybe my shoulder had fallen asleep or something, just wasn't there yet. So I was trying to get myself back there. And after maybe 2 minutes or something of not being able to move, I started to get a little bit concerned. And maybe 30 or 45 minutes after that, it's probably maybe 2 or 3 minutes total, I felt this energy, and there was a pound. My heart started pounding in my chest, and I didn't know if I was having a stroke or what. I didn't feel like I was being threatened or anything, but a couple of seconds later, 3 orbs started coming through my ceiling, about 1.5.
You're watching this as it's happening.
Yes, I'm watching it as it's happening. It's coming. 3 orbs are coming down out of the ceiling towards me, and 2 of them get about maybe 2 foot from my face, and the one in the middle keeps on going down and goes through my chest, and they take off after that, and I can move again. And once I was able to move again, was a little startled. I didn't feel like I was in any danger. I didn't feel like I was being hurt or anything. So I get up and I had to go pee. So I started to take a couple of steps to go pee. And one of the orbs telepathically contacted me and said, "Are you afraid?" And I said, "Well, no, I'm not afraid, but I'm kind of excited because this doesn't happen, very often.
Yeah.
I don't get these kind of visits very much." And they said, "Well, that's not true. You go with us every night, and you just don't realize it, or almost every night," they said.
Now, let me ask you, because of some of the videos you've sent me and the pictures and your, I don't know what to call it. I was going to say affinity with the whole UFO and alien experience. Do you feel that this is spirit activity? Do you think it's UFO activity, for lack of a better way to describe it? Alien activity, interdimensional?
Well, I think most of us, if we have any kind of intuition powers or anything, I think most of us are hybrids that are here now, and we have some kind of alien DNA in us. And I think the more that you work with it, and the more that you believe in it, the more that they will come and visit you, or make you experience strange experiences to see how you handle it. And if you handle it well, then you get another experience that may be a little bit more intense. Yeah, so you don't lose your shit.
That's interesting. It's something that I kind of not that I hadn't thought about that already for a long time, but when I was doing a couple of shows on Bigfoot back a few months ago, and there was the one Bigfoot that had the contact with the elders, and I was kind of mocking it a little bit at first because it sounded so damn goofy.
It does.
But the more I talked or read into that article, the more you found that these are very typical things that you hear in a lot of other fields. And he was mentioning, if you want to, the people that will experience Bigfoot and now take that and slip in your other ghosts, spirits, elementals, aliens, interdimensional, anything you want to put in there, the people that experience it are the ones that want to experience that. Maybe have a little bit of trepidation. You're afraid, but you're intrigued, right? Because you want to know something. That those are the ones, once you do that, you start opening yourself up to it.
Well, they don't want to scare you. If they scare you, they'll disappear and you'll never see them again. So if you get afraid of something like this, just tell them you're afraid, and they won't bother you anymore, because they want you to use your free will. You have free will to either go with them or not go with them. So, yeah. I live in a small town in Kentucky, so I figure, what's the worst thing that could happen? I live in Kentucky, so why not go?
Yeah, why not?
Let go.
And you're in kind of a hotbed area too that's been there for a long time. From, you're talking stories from Appalachia that have moved up into Kentucky and Ohio, and you get the Serpent Mounds up there and all that kind of stuff. Excuse me. And there was something I also had done a little series on the Fae and elementals and so on. And there are people that said, if you want to attract fairies to you and the Fae, and we got to get out of our minds the way we've watered that all down to mean storybook and fairy tales and little gossamer winged beings and stuff. But think of them as the Fae, the stuffs of mythology. And if you want to experience them, it takes a little effort on your part. Sometimes you'll get the weird experience that'll happen. You go, what the hell was that? But you'll never see it again. But if you want to attract them or experience them, you go out to the woods. You find a spot that calls to you, so to speak. You just feel it, and you sit down and you just sit in the quiet and you meditate. You kind of draw them to, you sing a song, you do something, and you keep going back there. And eventually they're going to reveal themselves to you. So.
Well, even vampires come from something, it comes from some kind of legend or some kind of history. And I believe that vampires are archonic attachments. I think there are archonic attachments that they feed off of your negative energy. And as long as you've got negative energy, they're going to stay there and they're going to eat off of you. But if you put yourself, like I get up every morning, don't turn on the TV, that big black cube just wants to suck your negative energy into it.
Sure, it does.
Turn on music instead that you like, sing and dance for an hour and a half, and then go on and take out the day. Because that's like kicking this day. You get up, you kick the day in the nuts, and you say, you're mine, day. No negative energy is going to get me. Nothing's going to bother me, because I'm not going to put up with it. And if you take get up, take the day by the short hairs and make it work for you and quit working for it.
That's it. And we've always said in all different kinds of fields, either you take control of your day or you can take control of your life, or it will take control of you.
Absolutely.
And, so that's really good stuff. I need to have you on sometime for a whole hour to talk about some of the things that you do, show off some of the images that you've captured. Give people a little highlight of what it is that you do. And you talked about meditation. I see you right away. I look at you This is the first time you and I have talked face to face, so to speak, online. And I look at you and I immediately get the feeling this is somebody who spends time meditating. You spend time, even though you said that, you seem to, you're drawing my attention into what you do. So tell us a little bit more.
Well, recently, what I do since last April 18th is I go outside and I film UFOs every night. For some reason, they're here in this area, and they've been here since April 18th. It could have been sooner. They could have been here all winter. But April 18th, it actually got warm enough to I wanted to go outside. They could have been here since January. Who knows?
Sure.
But yeah, I go outside and I film UFOs. I film different things in the sky, and I've been visited a lot, and that's why I've started to do that. It's one of my interests. I had experiences when I was a kid, and I've had things over here that I can't explain, and I think they like me because I don't judge them. If they're blue, so what? You're blue. What do you want? Why did you come here? Let me know what you want. Let's discuss things. If you're green, that doesn't impress me. I was married twice, and I've seen my wife without makeup, and I don't care what color you are. You don't impress me. You don't scare me. And I'll just sit there and I'll interact with them. And I think they like that.
Can I interpret that as you saying, I've had 2 ex-wives. You don't scare me.
Yeah, absolutely.
My kids this morning for the first time heard this. Well, probably in the movie, but on the radio on the way to school, they were playing Ghostbusters. I ain't afraid of no ghost.
No.
And so my kids got a good laugh out of that. But.
Well, if you're scared, they can feed off of that energy. And people that are nervous and are scared, if they're bad guys and they're here to feed off that, that's exactly what they want.
Sure.
But if you just treat them like anybody else, and they don't want to be worshipped either. The good ones, they don't want to be worshipped. You hear about the angels and you see the angels in the Bible glowing. Those weren't angels. Those were Pleiadians. Those are your ancestors probably that were coming. And people's mistaken things like this since day one. And these things don't,
like I've said before, we have this etiology in humanity that we put together when spectacular things happen, like a volcano erupting or a thunderstorm. Etymologically, we started creating myths around those. Well, that's the god of the mountain, and he's angry tonight, or whatever it might be, whatever the story might be. And maybe that's a little bit, I hailed back to my days as a kid in the late 60s and the early 70s watching the omnipresent reruns of Star Trek, the original series, and starting to glean an understanding from that maybe the things that we call gods and angels and devils and demons and everything in between, maybe that was something very different, very more tangible on a extraterrestrial realm, a celestial realm. And not saying that God and angels and devils and demons don't exist, just that maybe man has put labels to things because that was our only way to understand what they were.
Absolutely. And if you were an angel, would you know it?
No. Well, doesn't even the Bible itself say, and when you meet a stranger, show him the best hospitality, because many have entertained angels unawares and unaware that they were doing so. And how many do you suppose, to tap your thoughts, I get chills just asking this question, how many angelics or spirit beings or aliens or whatever you might want to call them do you think we encounter every day when we walk down the street in the city? And I'm in Minneapolis, a busy city, and I run into somebody or see somebody that on the street. Could I be encountering someone?
You'll know it because you'll feel that energy. You'll feel that same familiar energy that comes from you when you're meditating. I talk to people on the internet, and I know at least one person that I know of is an angel, because I can feel that energy. And sure. Yeah, and the Bible and all these religious books don't really get into them. They try to use religion to scare you into not being able to even communicate if you see these things. That they only want you talking to them. Well, of course they don't. They want to keep you under control. They want to keep you under the God spell, and they want to scare you to death. But what if you don't? What if you don't? What if you actually have a conversation, or what if you have an interaction with one of them and it's a good interaction? Then what? Does that destroy the matrix that they tried to set you in? My great aunt used to always say, well, you better not talk to those things because you're going to go to hell. And I'm like, I live in Ashland, Kentucky. That ship already sailed when I was born. So
nice.
Don't threaten me.
That's right. Well, even the Bible itself says, it's totally different context, but it says if you resist the devil, the evil one, he will flee from you. And I've always said that when I read tarot and I get the devil card, it simply means, and this is what comes to my mind when we're talking about this, it means, it's that whole idea, you take control or it will control you. It's the idea of you look your demons in the eyes. Demons used metaphorically there. Look your demons in the eye and they'll flee.
I think you're exactly right. And I think you're onto something. I think the devil is the frequency that you put out when you're in fear or you're scared of something. I think that is the actual thing that's trying to control you. And if you can control it, take a couple of deep breaths. That's what I had to do when those orbs were coming out. I mean, I felt my heart was pounding out of my chest. I had to go, take a couple of deep breaths and get past that first energy that you're feeling, because all you're feeling is their energy. And if you can get a couple of deep breaths in and you feel that it's just energy and it's not there to hurt you. I mean, if it wanted to hurt me, it could have done it when I was paralyzed. It did not want to hurt me. So if you can get past the initial energy that you feel from one of these things when they're present, then it's okay. It's all downhill. You'll know if they're there to hurt you after the first couple of breaths.
Yeah. And by the way, Sarah Yusuf, I think you're spot on with that. That's part of the meaning of that card. And so, well, David, this is fascinating. I'm fascinated by you. And we need to talk a little bit more. I want to get you on a little more formally and see some of the images you've captured.
That's what my therapist says.
Just kidding. I need to see you more, David. What are you doing next Tuesday at 2:15? As we used to say when Rocky and John and I did the Situation Room a few years ago, political talk and stuff and paranormal talk, and we'd say, so how do you really feel? Jean, why don't you lay your head down here on the black cushion? You tell us how you feel. And and we would mock him miserably. So, well, David, thank you for calling in, brother.
I appreciate you, Scott Roberts. I love your show. I love your discussions that you have, intelligent conversations. And remember, you don't have to agree with everybody all the time. You listen. It might resonate later. It might not resonate right now. This might be something that hits you later once you've had this experience. So never discount somebody's opinion.
That's right. Speak to that for a second for me before you go. Speak to that idea of not just dismissing something because we don't want to believe it. Do you have anything more to expound on with that?
Well, I believe that we're all on the same frequency. That's why we found each other. Because, I mean, if I wasn't on this frequency, I could look and look and look, and I wouldn't be able to find your channel. So we're all riding on this same frequency. And the best thing that you can do is just listen to someone. Don't talk, listen, don't judge. And, you might have had that experience and you might be like, oh, yeah, I understand that. Or you might not have had that experience and you don't understand it. But you could be getting ready to have that experience and it could help you. And that's why I called in tonight, in case anybody else experiences these orbs. They know what to do, not to panic.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And it's really, really cool if you don't. They took me out flying around in space somewhere. It was really, really neat.
Well, brother, I don't want to blow too much sunshine up your kilt, but you are a fascinating man. And I want to spend some more time talking with you.
Sure.
It would be very fun for me and for the audience as well. So
absolutely.
All right, brother. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate it.
It's great talking to y'all, and it's great chatting with y'all.
Great to talk to you and chat with you too. See you later. All right, guys. David Castle He's over in the chat room most every night, and good to have him here. And so, if all of you out there, you see how easy that was? David Castle came on and just shared his story and just talked. So, you can do the same thing. We're going to line up David. We're going to talk and line him up for doing a full show with him and getting some more information. I pasted the link to call into this channel, into the radio show, over in the chat room. So if you have a story to tell, call in. And anybody out there who wants to add to the fray here. I know Dave and I have lots of stories. We'll talk probably in the captain's cabin if he's free. Matthew Sainsbury, if you've got something new, call in. Chuck Thurston, haven't heard you call in. You should call in, brother. I'd love to hear some of the stuff that you encounter. We've got about 14 minutes left of this show. And that's a long time in radio. If you're talking and you don't have anything planned, that can be a long window. Here's Grumpy Stack. How you doing, brother?
All right. How are you?
All right. All right. All right.
All right. All right. All right.
So you saying down there in the bayou?
The fire's not going well.
Uh-oh.
We got a little rain today. I wanted to talk to you about the 2 times I encountered shadow people.
Yeah.
Okay, the first one was I guess I was about 11 years old. My dog, who was at the end of her life, she was, miserable. She would lay in the kitchen, and that was pretty much it. Well, I was upstairs in my room, just messing around, doing nothing, and I hear the dog go crazy, like barking, like she was young again. Well, I walked downstairs because the kitchen was right below me. I walk downstairs, I go to the back, and I open the sliding glass door, and she goes shooting across the deck, like running real fast. Well, what I saw jump over the 6-foot fence, the wood fence, was completely void of any light. It looked like a human being, but there was nothing reflecting off of it. And I could, where the house sat, I could see over the fence, not probably about from the 4 foot up. I could see over the fence. Okay. Well, I didn't see this thing run around, and my dad comes running out of his room, and he's like, "What's going on?" I was like, I have no idea. I said, I saw something jump. It was in a crouching position and jump up and over a 6-foot fence. I don't know of any human being who could do that. He looked. What do you
call Bigfoot down there again? The stink ape, the
skunk ape. Yeah, skunk ape. He's hanging around. He's right behind me right now.
Probably watching from the dark.
Oh yeah, of course, up in the tree. But yeah, it didn't run away. My dad went to the fence, looked over the fence, and nothing crawled away. So that shook me to my core.
I'll bet it did. Now that was one account. What was your other account?
The second account was it wasn't while I was awake. It was while I was sleeping. We used to hang out at my friend's house down the road, and I had a dream, and it's so vivid. I could still see it today. Well, I knew I was running away from something. It felt evil. It felt, I felt like I needed to get away from it. Well, in my friend's yard, there's a tree in the front yard. Well, I was running around the tree like an idiot, trying to get away from it and just running in circles. And I just got so tired that I stopped, I turned around, and I looked at it. And it pretty much, I would say, devoured itself.
Okay.
It was there, and then it kind of caved into itself. And, you know, I felt like I beat whatever it was, but at the same time, I feel, you know, that it might have came into me. I don't know.
That's interesting. So
Yeah,
what was your reaction when you woke up? Say you thought
my
something came into you. How did that story end, or is he still in there?
he might still be in there, but no. If he's in there, I kind of beat it back a little bit because you know, for the most part, I still battle with my own. Everybody battles with their own whatever it is, demons or whatever you want to call it. But you know, I feel that, you know, I've been healing a lot in the last 2 years, you know,
Mhm.
both physically and mentally.
Right.
And right now I'm having I've done the physical almost as best as I can. The mental part I'm still having issues with. And you know, I know one day I'll overcome that, but
Mhm.
it's not easy.
Speaking of dreams, by the way, I may have told this story here a long time ago. I had a dream once. We had a couple of chihuahuas, and Rainey's chihuahuas, and the chihuahuas had puppies. And then we ended up with like 15 chihuahuas, all puppies, because the litter was like 12 or 13, and there was another one in there too somewhere. And the biggest litter I have ever seen from anything, and I don't know chihuahuas, other than that they're a delicacy in Bolivia, served with a parsley leaf. And but I had a dream because they would trying to keep 15 chihuahuas that are under 12 weeks old from pissing all over your house is a monumental task. And so I built a big box, like a litter box that was about 6 feet by 4 feet, and kept it in the side room and closed that room off and kept them in there, but they'd still pee all over everything. And it was disgusting. All that setting the stage for the dream. So I'm outside and I'm walking all the chihuahuas, which we didn't do because we had a big ranch and we just let them go out in the yard there and they'd run all around. But I'm walking them all on leashes and I'm walking toward a big oak tree. And I look down at them all and I go, see, now I'm going to show you how this is done. And I went up to the tree and I pulled it out and I started peeing against the tree. And I said, see, this is how one pees. Meaning not in the house, but out on the tree. And as I'm peeing, and it was like a big, long, relieving pee, I wake up. And it's like going like a fire hose.
Oops.
And I had to cut it off and run to the bathroom quick. So that's the only time I wet the bed as an adult. That was about 15 years ago. So there you go. That was my dream. It wasn't too
Nice.
spooky. So, well,
Well,
so what do you think about this skunk ape business? Do you see any other signs that he's there? You see he's there now, you said a minute ago.
I'm not far enough south of where they say they see the skunk ape, but I'm pretty much in between that and, you know, the Bigfoot, because about 45 minutes north of me is Kisatchie National Forest, and people have seen it, you know, claim to see them. Um, I don't really know too much of the skunk ape, but I definitely have seen Bigfoots multiple as a truck driver over the road and in multiple states. Um, I'd like to find out if we'd ever find, you know, a body or something. But I think they're more like elementals where they can, you know, kind of drift off into this realm and go into another realm. That's why I don't think we can find evidence of it.
You know, David Castle might have some good info on that. I've heard that too, that it could be just interdimensional. That's why sometimes in some of these shows, one of these more heavily scientific experimental shows on looking for Bigfoot, they would see a shadow crossing from their flashlights, but nothing in between their flashlight and the shadow.
Yeah.
Things like that. And so it's interesting stuff.
I mean, I honestly look at it as, are we ghosts in somebody else's reality? Do we cross over? We could. I can see a possibility of ghosts being something that we're seeing that they're actually going through at this time, and vice versa. I think is it everything's physical? Yes, and no. I mean, it just doesn't make sense, and there's too much out there to really know what the truth is.
It's interesting. When I worked with the ghost hunters from television, Jason and Grant, and I was working with their magazine, and there was something on one of their shows where they encountered, I want to say it was at the Mount Washington Hotel in New Hampshire, where they encountered, there was the princess room, and I don't remember for the life of me who the princess was, which was genuine royalty. And this was her room when she stayed there 100 years earlier, 80 years earlier, something like that. And they were in the room and they were trying to talk with her to see if she was there. And her voice would come back. And it was very interesting because they opened up this can of worms, this theory about the time slippages and things like that, because the voice would say to them, "Who are you? Who's talking to me? Where are you? I can't see you," something like that. And it was almost like she's in her room back in her time period, and she's hearing their voices, and she's going, "Who is this? Who's talking to me?" So that was the thought they had, and they had more stuff that seemed to substantiate that. But I think that notion is probably beyond notion. That's probably very tangible to say, that there might be those time slippages where, like you just said, we are the ghosts to someone else, and they don't know who we are or where we're coming from or what we're talking about.
Exactly.
So, anyway, well, Doug, that's pretty cool.
All right.
To have you on, brother. We got about 2.5 minutes left of the show. Well, not even. I got about 30 seconds, and I got to go out. So
I'm gonna
good to talk to you, brother.
Good
I'll
to
see you
talk
in the
to you.
captain's cabin. All right, folks, this is about wrapping it for our radio audience. We've got to go do our outgo stuff for the radio audience in about 10 seconds here. And so I want to thank you for being here. Stick around for the captain's cabin over in the YouTube channel. And we'll be right here. We're not going anywhere, but we are going out to break. And we do have to say goodnight to our radio audience. So radio audience, live long and prosper.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid Radio Program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
Hey, welcome back, folks. This is the Captain's Cabin, aptly named by the listeners for our post show. And this is where we talk a little bit, let our hair down. If you're new to this broadcast, we are now off air over at the radio station, and we're just over on the YouTube channel. And so it started as, let's do a few minutes after show as an after show and extend the show out a little bit. And it could go anywhere from 10 minutes to 60 minutes to 90 minutes to 120 minutes after the fact. We haven't done a marathon 2 hours or 3 hours in a long time, but that doesn't mean we can't. And so welcome to the Captain's Cabin. And this is a time where you can call in, just like we did during the show. And so welcome. All of those of you who are sticking around, glad to have you here. And I got something sitting in front of me here. I just happened to find this yesterday in an old box because we moved, this little box right here. And what's in there? I said, oh, I remember what's in there. Since yesterday was my 15th wedding anniversary, as you all know, to the lovely, luscious, vivacious, beautiful, amazing, astounding Rainey. Oops. I wanted to show you this box because I found this. So I opened it up, and in here it's me treasure pot. It's me treasure chest. Look at that. All these gold coins in there. Now, you're wondering what these may be. Rainey made these for me. I think it was year one, our first anniversary. And this was her anniversary present to me. Whoops. And she made all these little coins out of gold. Out of clay. And she wrote messages on them. So, and they're coins that I can redeem. So here's the first one. I had one hug. That's good for a hug. And I haven't used any of these yet because I always get what I want anyway. Oh, look. Massage. What else we got in here? Oh, that one's blank, so I can write on there whatever I want. He says slyly. This one says one hug. This one is one kiss. Pirate, says Dave. One wish. I get one wish. Oh, now it doesn't say she'll fulfill the wish. It just says I have one wish. Here is one favor. I got red paint all over my hands, folks. I couldn't get the fingernail polish off in time for the show. No, it's red paint. So one favor. What else we got in here? Another blank one. Another wild card. This one says, good for one kiss. Good for a kiss. One favor again. And there's a couple more. This one she actually engraved. One wish. And then the last one is, of course, one massage. And you know what else she gave me in here? One fingernail clipper. And a bunch of safety pins. So there you go. So that was this is 14 years old. This was my first year wedding anniversary gift from Rainey. So there it is. Thought I'd share that with you guys. So you get that shut. There was something else in there too. So I just had to get it back in there. All right. So now that we got that fun stuff out of the way, how's everybody doing? What you up to? What's shaking? What's going on? You can still call in if you'd like and tell some ghost stories. And good evening, Scotty Roberts and Intrepid, says Sean Stroik. Scotty, the kiss could come from a dog, so don't close your eyes to that kiss. Yeah, very true. Close your eyes, Scotty. Well, I'll be able to tell the difference from a big wet tongue over my face versus a set of soft, supple lips. And her soft, supple lips. You could write a story on that one. So instead of the cardboard of the cat licking me or something, cardboardy tongue, sandpaper tongue. That's what I'm looking for. Fingernail clippers must be a hint. Well, it was 15 years ago, I guess, or 14 years ago. So, by the way, talking with Russ, he's lining up a couple of interviews for me for the show. We're trying to get, and he had already responded once very positively, and Russ knows him, Eugene Roddenberry, Rod Roddenberry, who is the son of Gene Roddenberry, who created Star Trek. And he's also one of the executive producers on, I think he's an executive producer on Strange New Worlds and other Star Trek things that are going on out there in the movies and in the entertainment world. And so that'll be fun to get him on. We also have somebody who said that they'd love to do an interview with me, and that's Eddie McClintock. Now, you may have seen him in Warehouse 13. He's one of the actors in there, and they're talking about relaunching Warehouse 13. So that could be very interesting. We'll have to see where that goes. And I've got to shoot an email off to him and let him know some scheduling stuff and all of that. So we have a couple of fun interviews coming up. We've had a couple of fun interviews lined up in the past that never transpired. I'm going to have to follow up on those again because we had big, wholehearted, enthusiastic yeses, and then it just kind of all fell apart. So we'll see what we can do to get some of those going too. And Beth Kirkham says, many years ago, I was passing through Prescott, Arizona, and stopped at a junk shop. There was a box full of Bordello tokens. Nice. I bought one, the prettiest one with the hearts and a cameo and the name Leone. I'd love to see a picture of that, Beth. That might be kind of cool. I'd have bought the whole box, unless they were like exorbitantly expensive. I think I once, and you've heard this story maybe before, I think I was speaking of Bordello tokens. I think I had a Bordello employee, shall we call her, talk to me via an EVP at what is done in Winona, Minnesota, a river town, at a place that is now an antique store that used to be a bar several times over and was a brothel 100 years ago. I think up even into the 1960s, there were brothels operating in this town. And I had asked very politely, sitting down in the basement on an old staircase that was concreted over on the top. So it only went up about 8 steps and it was done. And I sat there, and that used to be the stairway that was the in and out to the brothel, because the basement used to be the street level, which was very interesting. And so I asked if there was anybody there. And I was very polite, and I said, if there are any ladies that are here that used to work here, I said, I would love to make contact with you. And I had the equipment up and so on. And of course, I didn't hear anything audibly, but it came back on the EVP. I heard a woman's voice. And this woman's voice said, "What you doing there?" Just like that, with that lilt to it. "What you doing there?" And I thought that was very interesting. And I wish I had recorded more there. I should have listened back at the time to see if I was picking anything up. So that was something. Bordello employee. Yes, Michelle Canham-Free. A hooker, a prostitute, a woman of the night. And and I even said, and I kind of chuckled as I was asking her, and this was about 10 years ago, and or a little bit more. I think it was 2008 or 2009. And so I said, I want to be very polite. I said, I don't know how you would have referred to your profession. I said, so please don't take the way I'm saying any of this as being insensitive to who you might be and what you did. And I said, but if you were a working woman here, a woman of the night, I said, as they used to call you, I said, I'd love to make some connection and talk with you. How you do? What you doing there? What you doing there? That lilty female voice. And if I had a recording of it, I do. It's over on my SoundCloud, which I wish I could download what I've got up there because it was long lost off of my files. But there's a SoundCloud link that you can listen to that will let you hear that. And so it's very interesting stuff. Sean Stroik with Bordello. Michelle Canham-Free. Having the time of his life, Chuck. Says, what was said there? What my great-grandfather was doing. What my great-grandfather was doing there. Here's Matthew Sainsbury. How you doing, Matthew?
Hi, good night, Scotty Roberts.
How you doing? You got a camera tonight, or you just you without camera?
I just decided to put my M for now, because when your throat not feeling very well, you can already feel up to, full things. But there's something that I wouldn't mind if the audience can hear it, but there's a Spirit Box video that is on YouTube by a guy called Cody. He was able to, he believes that he may have contacted the spirit of Emmett Till, the boy that was killed in Mississippi in 1955. So that was a very dramatic thing, but apparently he seemed to have been able to pick up. And one of the things he said when the program began too, he said that that this type of spirit box thing is not fully in its full prime. It's still in its infancy, and we can't guarantee 100% if that is the person that we're interviewing. But based on what I listened to on that audio, it sounds like it's genuine, see? So I wouldn't mind if the others could hear it as well,
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So on the page, by a guy called Cody, C-O-D-Y. Yeah, he does spirit boxes.
Now you have to be a little careful that we don't break copyright.
Oh. Yeah. But it's on YouTube though. That's the main thing.
Okay, just give us the link, and we could all.
Yeah, it's Cody. That's his name on YouTube. You look Spirit Box with Emmett Till, Cody, C-O-D-Y, and you should see it come up.
Okay, cool. Right on. So that all you got for us tonight, Matthew? You're usually
pretty for now, and not too much because my throat ain't feeling itself. But I'm planning to go and see my father on Sunday. See, so yeah.
All right. Well, Matthew, it's good to hear from you. I'm glad you called in.
Thanks very much.
It. All right, brother.
Yeah, okay.
You have a good night. Get better.
Thanks.
All right. Talk to you soon. All right. That was Matthew Sainsbury. And Matthew, no offense, probably the briefest I've ever heard you speak. So I was expecting more from the story. That's why I was kind of quiet. Sorry about that, brother. So let's see. What else we got going? Who else has anything else they want to add to the broadcast tonight? What's on your minds? Because I didn't prepare anything tonight. Not that I couldn't sit down here and just launch into talking. I can do that. So I got Russ is over there messaging me, and he hoped everything worked good. I think it all sounded really good on the channel tonight. I think we're working out our kinks over on the radio station, so that's a good thing. And I ran across this, by the way. You might be interested in seeing this. When we did the Paradigm Symposiums, the very first Paradigm Symposium we did, this was an issue of Intrepid magazine. And if Russ is watching still, this is how we would produce the Intrepid magazine. You saw the other one with John Ward. And this is the one that we put out that had all our special speakers at the Paradigm Symposium. We've got them all listed in here in the magazine. And as you went through the magazine, we had articles and stories in here as well, laced with our main speakers. Like we had Eric Von Daniken and Giorgio Tsoukalos were there speaking. Von Daniken was our headliner. And we had all the guys from Ancient Aliens there. We had Linda Moulton Howe and George Norrie spoke. And we had, that's an article by Micah Hanks, To the Ends of the Earth, about Admiral Byrd, Nazi UFOs, and Hollow Earth conspiracies in the southern extremes. We had Philip Coppens, and Bill Burns was supposed to be there, but he had some last-minute emergencies, and he could not make it to that show. Well, so we had Ian Punnett was there. He moderated our big panel discussion with all the and Ian Punnett, if you don't know him, he does the weekend coast to coast shows. Amber Keller wrote us an article on haunted Scotland. Amber Keller, I haven't talked to her in a long time. We had Larry Flaxman and Marie D. Jones presenting at this event. And we had Laird Scranton and David Weatherly were there. And this was by Paul Stonehill, The Cosmonaut, was an article he wrote for us in this issue. And I'm trying to see, I might have used up all our speakers here. I did. Oh, we had Nick Redfern. And of course, Dr. John Ward. How could I forget that he was there as well? And John Ventry and Paul Von Ward were speakers, authors and speakers. And we had Dan Madsen and Anthony F. Sanchez, who wrote UFO Highway. I just had his book in my hand earlier today. Micah Hanks, the prolific author and radio personality, Micah Hanks. And had a great article by Walter Crittenden on Procession and the Ancient Path to the Future. It says right in here in the article, give you a taste, understanding that consciousness may indeed rise and fall with the motions of the heavens, gives meaning to ancient myth and folklore, and puts anomalous cultures and artifacts into an historical context that makes sense. There it is, folks. Had an article on Göbekli Tepe. This was from Walter Crittenden talking about the solar system motion. And does it matter? He asked. And I'm just seeing what else is in this issue. Transformational Hypothesis of Human Origin by Anthony F. Sanchez. There you see the big I in the background. It gives you an idea where that article was going. And I tried to get an article from most of our speakers for this issue of this magazine. And I think that might be it of the good stuff. The rest is just all the falling action from all the different articles in here. Yeah, that was pretty much it. And then, of course, my son Sam on the back cover with Tam O'Hare, his sword, and our dog. So there you go. I see Dave is waiting out in the wings. Uncle Dave, let's bring him on board. Uncle Dave.
Howdy.
Davy. Davy Potter, king of the... What?
I had to kill the other player playing that was because we were creating an echo.
Sure.
The YouTube was still on.
This is David Castle. Not sure what I missed there. Good night,
David Castle. That was very interesting.
That was very interesting.
I put in the chat to you, David, that we'll have to connect up at some time and chat about angelic experiences.
Dave is a guy that somebody, you know how you get a feeling about people? The feeling I got off of him is he's a guy I'd like to hang with.
Yep.
And spend time talking. So, commiserating, hobnobbing with brother wizards.
Made me think of Gabby Hayes. Hang with him or hang against him.
Yeah. And when I say wizard down in Kentucky in the South, I suppose you have to clarify. Not a KKK wizard, a wizard of a different kind. So,
like that reenactment thing, the film we were doing out east on the Pequot War, and there was a guy from down south that played King Charles at a lot of events, and he very much had that.
Yeah.
That look with the the pointy beard and the long flowing hair. And we were there from Clan Tartan, and we just refer to it as a clan, not thinking about the way that's taken down south. And we were talking about some clan get together coming up after the shooting, and he heard us and came over to our fire and goes, "I did not know we had representatives as far north as Minnesota in the clan." and I looked at him and I said, "Oh, you're mistaken, sir. We are not talking the KKK. We are talking Clan Tartan, a Scottish reenactment group, not a bunch of white racist bastards." And his color just flowed out of his face.
Nice. He turned as white as his hood.
Yep. Turned and walked away.
Nice. Chuck, where did that go? Chuck, you mentioned they need to republish Uncle Wiggily. Yes, they do. You just sparked an old memory. Uncle Wiggily Longears. He was a rabbit, much like Tam O'Hare.
Oh, yes.
Published in the early 1900s, pre-First World War, I think, kind of era.
I do believe I have seen illustrations of something from that.
I do believe I have seen illustrations of a long-eared rabbit.
I got that man's voice in my head now, and I cannot let go of it.
I cannot. That the image will not leave me, and I cannot let it go. I think I've got a game here. It's a board game that came out, and I found it at a thrift store, and it was in perfect condition with these gorgeous illustrations that were a lot like Tam O'Hare, only different clothing era, like Victorian or Edwardian or something like that, Hanoverian. But it was called, I think if I'm not mistaken, it's called Uncle Wiggily, the Uncle Wiggily game.
Oh, interesting.
And I played it with Rowan or Ellery one day. She was bored out of her skull, whining and crying because everybody was gone doing something. It was just her and I at home. And I said, "Let's break out Uncle Wiggily." Who's Uncle Wiggily? So he's like Uncle Dave, only longer ears.
I'm just thinking, Uncle Wiggily, this does not sound like a game you want to play with a 7-year-old.
Yeah, no, it does not. That's well, frankly.
Come here, darling, and let Uncle Wiggily teach you a thing or two.
That's right. And frankly, that is a metaphor we used for our Johnsons. We didn't use Uncle, we used a Mr. Wiggily. Mr. Wiggily. So
oh my God, that is so wrong.
It's very wrong. But the thought comes to your mind, it's like, oh my God, I don't want to say Uncle Wiggily. So Uncle D had to take it. Uncle D had to take it there, says Ryan Gale. That's right. So, boom.
I would never offer to play a game called Uncle Wiggily with.
Let's cleanse our palates now and move on.
Okay, so I'm out on YouTube scrolling, like you do.
Yeah.
And I come across this video. We bought this Victorian home in England, blah blah blah, at auction. Wish we hadn't done this. So they buy this house. They're rehabbing it. It's a lot of tear apart and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And they find behind this paneling a door. So they peel the paneling
That's
off.
intriguing.
They open the door. It's basically just a closet under a stairwell, okay, off the kitchen. But hanging from the ceiling on a hook is a plastic bag, something heavy in it. So they take that down and they unwrap it. And it's an old family Bible with all kinds of photographs and birth certificates and things like that, like you put in an old family Bible.
Sure.
And they're like, well, this is really weird. Why is this left hanging in this closet and then sealed behind this wall? So then they're doing major demo on a lot of these, stripping it down to the studs and stuff like that. So they're in any time in an old house, when you start disturbing it that much, you know you're going to have something start happening. They start hearing thumps and bangs coming from the attic. So they go upstairs to the attic, and it's mostly empty. There's some junk that's been left behind from the previous owners. And they kind of clear it out, and they still hear thumps and bumps. So they go back up there, and in the back corner along the back wall, in the brick wall, is an opening, and they reach inside. They can see that there's something there through the cobwebs, and they peel the cobwebs away, and there's this old wooden box,
you know,
carvings on the top of it.
It's like stuff you see in the movies where they always go, there's something in there. Let me reach in and get it.
Well,
like, don't reach in there. You don't know
this was actually, you could see it in line with the bricks. There's this gaping hole, and then there's clearly a wooden box sitting in there, but it's all covered with cobwebs and everything, right? And I'm like, I'd get a stick and clear the cobwebs. He just reaches his hand through the cobwebs. I'm like, oh, that weirded me out more than the box. I don't care about the box. You just done your hand through cobwebs, dude. And and you can see like the spider eggs in the cobwebs, and I'm just like, oh my God, what are you doing?
Don't do that. That's horrible.
So he pulls that box out, and it's locked. So they set it aside. It's got some sort of carving in the top. They don't recognize the language. They take pictures of it and say, hey, if anybody that's following us knows what this says, let us know.
I don't understand what these runes and sigils actually mean.
Yeah, well, it was like a foreign language. It wasn't like runes and sigils, but there was a pentagram carved on the side of the box.
Nice. Nicely done.
Yeah. So part of me is like, this seems really staged, except, you couldn't have staged that box and the cobwebs. So I'm sort of buying into it. And then, I'm scrolling through, I've not subscribed to them, but I'm scrolling through their whole file of just their videos, right? And so I go to the next video, and they're working on the floor, and they've peeled the carpet off, they peeled the linoleum off, they pry up the plywood, and there's a box in the floorboards. So they pull it out, and it's a wax sealed box. And I'm like, oh, no. That just goes away. That leaves the house now. Don't do anything with it. And he's like, well, we're super curious. So he pulls out.
Let's sit here at the kitchen table and crack that open.
Yeah, they cut the wax seal all the way around. And I'm like, oh, you mother. It's not what you want to do. I got to go back. Before that, they found a mirror also in the attic, and it had a rattling sound. When they tilted, they could hear something sliding back and forth behind the glass. So, like you do, you don't want to take the back wooden panel off the mirror. You just take a hammer and smash the glass.
You do.
Yeah, I'm like, what? Yeah. You know nothing about bad luck. Let's just smash the mirror. No. Just open it up from the backside and see because clearly they didn't put the thing in there and then glue a mirror together. No, there's another way in. But anyways, inside the mirror is a key that fits the little wooden box. They open that up, and it's a planchette that's been burned, a lock of hair, a necklace with a pendant on it, a crystal type pendant, something else. I can't remember what the other thing was. Anyways, I'm like, well, none of this seems good, you know. So then they cut the wooden seal on this box, which is fairly good size, and they open it up, and there's a burned Ouija board inside that's also been they filled the bottom of the box with wax and then stuck it down into it, you know, but you can see the burned edges. Yeah. And then he goes and gets the wooden box and pulls out the planchette, right? That's the right word, isn't it? Yep. And lays it on top of the Ouija board, and he's like, well, part of me says I should get rid of this, and part of me wants to play this. And I'm thinking, well, that part of you needs to be expelled from you, isn't it? Yeah, but I'm like, just that none of this seems like a good idea. And then on the inside of the box lid is more engraving, and it looks to me like a name in German or Dutch possibly, and another pentagram and some other carvings on the inside of the box. And I'm just like, all this stuff needs to go, you know. And then they talk about in another room they found a suitcase, and they opened it up, and it had some old clothes and what they referred to as ritual items, and then a shawl that was wrapped around a bunch of old Victorian pictures that were also burned, and the eyes were intentionally burned out of the people's faces. Nice. And I'm like, none of this sounds like good magic. This is you know. Then inside their fireplace, up inside the chimney, they find a metal box, and they open that up, and it's full of crystals, like quartz crystals, and I'm like, this is awfully
There's
weird.
Little boxes stashed all over this place.
Yeah, and they've all got pentagrams drawn on them.
What did it date to? I mean, was it like to the 70s or the 60s, or was it like 100 years old?
Well, a lot of the stuff, the photos and stuff, were all Victorian. I would say that to me, the wax box and even the little wooden jewelry box that was locked where they found the key and the other thing, the little wooden box looked older in design, but I think it's a reproduction from the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the wax, because it was red and white wax, so it's not. It's probably from the 70s or 80s, because, you know, back in the 1800s and early 1900s, you didn't have a lot of red candles.
Yeah.
And most of them would have been beeswax or white paraffin or something like that. So I don't know. Either somebody had an awful lot of fun when they were moving out of this house and said, well, we're going to really dick with these people.
Freak out the new owners.
You know, or somebody was doing their black magic there, because it definitely screamed of black magic.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a lot of patience for people that do black magic.
I don't know. I wouldn't say I don't have a lot of patience for them. I would say I'm not into that thing at all. You know, you're going to do your black magic, you keep it out of my house. So Rennie doesn't even let me turn on the spirit boxes at the house. She doesn't like that.
You know, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. There's a part of me that's kind of like, oh, let's flip it on and see what they have to say. But but at the same time, you're inviting that into the house. And when I go and do an investigation, and even like when I was at the lodge regularly at Triune, when I would go home, if they followed me up the stairs, and that happened on multiple occasions, I would just stop at the door and say, brother, you can't come home with me. You got to stay here, or you could go elsewhere, but you can't come home with me.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's where did I say it? Might have been at the festival. Where was it? Just recently I said that we were at the festival. Is the only investigation I've done lately, but I seem to remember saying I closed the door, and I don't remember doing that. That maybe it's I'm losing when I did this recently, but I always make the statement when I'm done with an investigation. If we've contacted something and something speaks to us, I say, now, thank you for speaking to us. We're going to go now. I'm going to say goodbye to you. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll talk again, but you have to stay here. You can't come with us. You can't follow me home. And I always tell them that. And I always try to say, look, I don't want you in my house. You don't need to be in my house. I have small children at home. I don't want them to be frightened of it. And it might not be a negative thing, but there's that point where you say, I don't want to open the doors of my home to be an open door.
Right. And the ones that always get me is when you when you connect is what I'm trying to say. I was going to try. My brain wanted to say two words at the same time: connect and contact. When you connect with a child spirit at one of these locations, it's really hard to say, okay, you got to stay here now. They're like, no, help us. No.
Help us. No.
I can't help you.
You'll still be here when I come back.
Go towards the light. Go towards the light. Not the light of my car, though, because you're not coming home with me.
Yep.
But it's hard because those are the spirits that cut deep to me, and because it's just like this little kid is just lost here.
Yeah.
And you need to cross over. You need to go through the veil and off to the other side. But
right.
Yeah, and I think of the little boy at the warehouse where you and I and Rainey were going to look at the warehouse space.
Yeah.
And I think of the little girl at Mary King's Close in Scotland that connected with me, and others. They're always the worst, is when you have that child spirit. When we were at the Tommy, from when we were at the hotel up in Sauk Center.
Yes.
And I went down. I did a project for a lodge brother from Triune, of all places again, who is living in Arkansas Springs. What the fuck is that town called? Anyways, he owns a theater down there. He does an illusionist show, and I occasionally will help him write illusions and stuff for the backstory for his thing. But his wife is very tuned in, very psychic and stuff. And I did some costuming for them and drove it down there to do final fittings and get it ready for their opening show. And he put me up in this hotel that's there that's super haunted. And this hotel that was there, this guy was running a clinic, turn of the century, running a clinic for you young kids, that's the turn of the last century, not this one.
Yes. For you young,
never used to have to say that. Now I feel like I have to explain.
Yeah.
It was like 2 years ago. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So he was running a clinic that he supposedly had a cure for cancer. People were coming down and sitting in the springs and doing all this stuff. And they were just dying. And he was disposing of the bodies or something.
Yeah.
In any case, there's a lot of haunting at this hotel. And they put me in a fairly haunted room because they knew I'd like it, except that sadly that night.
You'd like this room.
I spent the whole night sewing. I brought my sewing machine, the ironing board, all that stuff. Because I came down, did final fittings, pinned everything, brought it back to the hotel room, and then sewed all night long so I could get everything finalized, get the linings in, and get all that stuff done. So I could take it back in the morning. So I didn't sleep that night. I was up all night.
Sure.
And I didn't see anything. There were several people doing investigations in the hotel, and I was up. So I said, if you want to come in and do EVPs or whatever, you can do that. They didn't catch anything in my room, probably because the spirits were like, what the hell? This dude's sewing. He's not sleeping. We can't dick with him. But
what you doing sewing there, big fella?
There's this huge long balcony out in front that is a balcony for like 5 rooms, right outside the room where I'm sewing. And I've got the curtains open, and as sunrise is coming, I see that one of the rocking chairs, there's a whole row of rocking chairs, but just one is gently rocking like you would if you were just sitting out there enjoying the morning, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not frantically rocking, but rocking back, rocking forward, rocking back, rocking forward.
Here?
And all of the other rocking chairs are sitting still. So if it's wind, why aren't they all moving?
Yeah.
Right. And the flag on the flagpole is hanging straight down the pole. So there's no wind. And I'm thinking, well, that's rather weird. And so I open the door and I step out there, and this wafting little cloud of smoke past me that was like pipe tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nobody else on the balcony. And then somebody comes out from the room next to me. And I said, oh, was somebody out here? I didn't mean to be intruding or anything. And they're like, no, we just woke up and heard somebody out on the balcony and looked and saw you. And I said, I have the room next door. And I said, this rocking chair was rocking. And when I came out, I could smell pipe tobacco. So I thought maybe one of you had gone back inside. Or they're like, absolutely not. It wasn't us. And all the other rooms were empty down the line. I could walk down the line, and all the other rooms that access this balcony, the curtains were open and the rooms were empty. They weren't checked out that night. So I thought, well, that's really weird. So then I talked to them at the front desk, and they said, oh yeah, there was one of the rooms up there is heavily haunted. And I said, well, I think that's the one I was staying in. But they said that the person who used to regularly rent that room would sit on the balcony and smoke his pipe.
Nice.
And it was like, well, that's really interesting.
Well, there it is. Well, that was like the woman singing we got at the Water Street Inn in Stillwater. Rainey got a message in her head that this woman in a dress wanted me to sing the third verse of Loch Lomond, which is a weird thing to ask for.
Yeah.
That's
just the third one? Oh, no, we've heard Scotty do the first two. We don't care for him.
Yeah. We don't like those verses. I like the third verse. The third verse is, the wee birdies sing in the wildflowers spring while the sun on the water is sleeping. But the broken-hearted ken nae second spring again, and the woeful cease from their grieving. And then it says, and you take the high road, I'll take the low road, I'll be in Scotland afore ye.
Yeah.
So I sang that verse, and boy, I got chills just reciting the verse for some reason.
Yeah.
And
well, it's because the low road goes through all those little towns. You got to slow down all the time.
That's right.
Even on the highway,
tracks, And so we got somebody singing to us. I said back after I sang, I said, would you sing for us now? And we didn't pick up anything on the EVPs as far as we could tell. But in the middle of the night, that's when Rainey woke up and she said, do you hear that? I hear music. And we're in a hotel, but there's nobody else in the hotel. It was during the height of COVID, and Stillwater was shut down. There weren't even any bars open. And one other person in the hotel, way down at the other end, we looked outside to make sure this was on my birthday. So it was end of November. And we're looking outside, and there's no cars, nothing. You know, we're not rubes. We would tell people, we're not rubes. We know what to look for.
Well, and it's the end of November. You're not going to have people standing outside singing.
Right, at 2:30, 2:45 in the morning. And so
we're comfortable with our cold weather up here, but we have limits,
right,
too.
Not that comfortable. And so we got the woman singing.
Well, it can't be more than 20 degrees outside. Let's come on, lads. Come on, let's go downtown and sit around at 2 a.m. and sing.
Get your flip flops on now. And so I grabbed my phone and I turned on the phone recorder, and that's how I captured her singing. And it's really low in there, but you can hear her. And I sent it without telling what I was hearing. I said, we were at a hotel last night, and I said to a friend of mine out in the field, in the paranormal field, and I said, you want to listen to this? It's about a 3-minute clip. Tell me if you hear anything. He got back to me the next day. And he says, I could hear a woman singing what sounded like a ballad, but I couldn't make out the words or even the tune. you could tell she was singing a sweet tune, but you couldn't tell what it was. And so it was very interesting. So,
well, and that's like the angelic visits too. I posted this earlier. They are amazingly average, nondescript. Sort of, you can tell what it is, but you can't really describe it. It's so generic in appearance, right?
mm-hmm.
And to me, that's what a lot of those, when you hear voices in another room, you can tell there's voice. You can even sometimes tell there's a conversation between different people, but you can't make out any words. You can sometimes make out attitude if somebody's angry and somebody's scared or whatever, but you can't define what's being said.
Mm-hmm.
But you can, like, well, that's a woman's voice or a child's voice, or that's a man's voice, or that sounds like a foreign, tongue. It's but it's never, it's so ethereal, you just can't quite put your finger on it.
Yeah, I get that. Excuse me. I understand that. I was going to see if I could actually locate that little EVP. Fernhill House. No. I'm not looking for Fernhill House. I'm looking for Water Street.
I'm going to close my camera for just a second here.
Singing. I've got singing here. All right. Let's see if I can open this up. Let's see if this has got enough to it. Here we go. Let's try this. I got no sound coming out of it.
I'm not hearing anything.
Hang on.
Can you hear it out there?
I'm hearing something on this, but I can't increase it.
I can hear you and Rainey chatting.
Yeah. No, it's not coming across loudly enough. Excuse me. Let me try the other one. There was two of them in there. It's a video file. And maybe it's the audio file is what I need to load. Let's see if this is any different. They're both the same.
I heard the one that sounds like a voice.
Now, the image you're seeing is my phone. I'm just holding it up in the dark.
See, it's like that. Like I said, it's that ethereal sound. You can tell that there's something saying something, but
here, listen to the. In here somewhere, you heard a voice.
Yeah.
Here, hold on. Don't talk.
Can you hear it out there?
That's raining.
But I hear it better in here. But there's somebody going up and down the stairs or what?
When you hear it get hissy, it's because I raised the volume. You have to listen really close. You almost have to listen with a headset.
Yeah.
Because you could hear her very distinctly in some of those spots singing. Yeah, that's about it. So
we should one of these days. I'll bring the raw footage from the Dead Reckoning thing we shot. There's a ton of stuff captured.
I got it
on,
somewhere.
On that. No, I've got all the raw footage.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I've got it here in a box.
Oh, cool.
And I'll bring it over and we'll play it onto the Mac and listen to it.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Because there's some really interesting stuff there. We capture like when Lisa had her ponytail pulled.
Yeah.
The camera's right there. All of a sudden, her ponytail just goes straight out behind her, and she gets yanked off her feet.
Nice.
There's nobody behind her.
Yeah.
That's where we had the whole conversation with Seth, and he's talking to us about getting left behind and all that stuff. We think he was one of the guys that was tunneling into the bank and got caught in the tunnel.
Yeah.
And when it caved in. And he's calling all the girls whores. And that, to me, I still laugh at all that. You're whores. And they're like, why are you calling the girls whores? And everybody's asking questions, and I'm sitting back there and I'm like, well, it's real obvious they're all wearing pants. But they all these questions are being asked, and no one on camera is asking the right question.
Yeah.
So finally, I'm like, sorry, I had to speak up. I can't take it any longer.
Yes.
And I'm like, Seth, are you calling them whores because they're all wearing pants? And it just comes back, of course. And they're all looking at me like, and I'm like, what would have been the 1800s? Women would not have been walking around in jeans.
Well, see, and then he was swearing at us and stuff and being very threatening. Same Seth. And
that is the thing that made me believe in the Shack Act.
And because when he was doing that, and I said, what gives you the right to speak to us that way? And then very sheepishly, he came across and said, I'm Lutheran. And we all laughed.
Yeah. Yeah. He's being all tough and stuff, but yeah, it's like, well, I'm sorry. But what made me believe in the Shack Hack, because I was like, I don't know if I buy this. Little plastic boxes talking to the other side, because it's doing the scan thing, grabbing words theoretically off the ether that could be coming from radio stations or whatever, right? He started dropping F-bombs and saying shit that you can't say on the radio, and I went, well, there's nobody on the radio anywhere in line of this receiver that's using words like that on the radio. So it just became real obvious that what he was doing was legit. And Scotty's disappeared. So I appear to still be on the banner, and the ticker is still going. So I'm assuming I'm still there, but I don't see Scotty at all or hear him. So that's interesting. It's odd because I don't think he can leave the show without the show closing. So we'll just keep going, ladies and gents. Yeah, that was up at the Palmer House in Sauk Center, Sauk Rapids, Sauk something or other. That too seems like ages ago now. And maybe it was. I've realized looking in the mirror the other day that I'm not 25 anymore. I'm pretty sure I was, but I've apparently been 25 for 30 some years. So. And so anyway, I am trying to bring up my YouTube on the other tablet so I can actually see the chat line, because I can't see what you're saying. Hey, I'm back in the chat. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. I'd have you call in again, David, but I can't turn you on. Well, I can't access you to let me rephrase that. I can't bring you back into the show because I have to be at Scotty's computer to do that. So there is that. Did anybody have any questions? That's what she said. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, crazy, crazy, crazy. You know, the other day, Scotty was on with Professor Bauer, and they were saying something, and it reminded me of a haunted experience that I'd had. And I cannot for the life of me remember what that is right now, because I'm like, oh, that would be a good one to tell on Friday night. And do you think I could think of it today? No, absolutely not. Did have a weird experience. We were shooting a film in Bethany, West Virginia. And we were at this log cabin on this state park. There's a covered bridge, and the covered bridge is at the base of this curved road, and the cabin is on the top of the hill. And if you're standing along the hill, you can see both the covered bridge and the cabin. And so we needed a 12K light brought from the covered bridge up to the cabin to simulate moonlight. But it was too heavy to carry up the hill, so they were going to drive the grip truck around the road and up the other side and come out at the top of the hill and drop off that light. Not even a 5-minute drive. It's seriously, you could see the entire road. And the guy got in the grip truck, started driving, and disappeared. Literally disappeared. We couldn't find him anywhere along the road. He couldn't find us. We were on radio with him for a while, and he's like, well, I'm following the road, but it didn't curve up the hill. It took me in this other direction, and it got weird and crackly, and then we lost contact with him. 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, we finally get a phone call, and he's in Wheeling, West Virginia. He has no idea how he got there. He said he was driving on this road. It was weird, dusky light to begin with, and he said it got all foggy and misty, and when he came out the path on the other side, he couldn't find the cabin. He couldn't find the covered bridge. He turned around twice and came back down the road he'd come down and never saw the covered bridge and never saw the cabin, and finally ended up in Wheeling, West Virginia in the morning. And he can't explain what happened, because it wasn't even a mile long driveway, you know, and we could see the covered bridge, and we could see the road meandering up to the top. There was no place he would have been out of our sight, and he went around a bend and then never came out the other side of the trees. You know, it was I've heard people talk about portals and stuff that you can drive through, and that's the only way I can explain that he drove into a portal, and whether that crossed him through time or just space, I don't know. And we could hear him for a while, and he was all crackly on the walkie-talkies, and then he was just gone.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. And he said, from his perspective, he drove into the fog and drove down this road through the fog and figured he'd made a wrong turn, got up to a place where he could turn around, came back the exact same road, but it didn't have a bridge on it, and there was no cabin. Went down that road the way we'd come up, figuring he'd get back to the school that we had driven from.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't get back to the school. Eventually found a highway, got on the highway, and the highway took him to Wheeling. But that was in the wee hours of the morning.
That's interesting.
We were shooting around 9:30 or 10 at night, and it was the weirdest thing. That whole shoot is full of weird, bizarre, paranormal things happening.
Yeah, you told me some other things that happened on that shoot, so that's interesting.
25 of us total in the production crew. We had 18 flat tires in a week's time. It was just crazy. There were several experiences at Campbell's house itself, and some very cool historical discoveries. Like, I had been up in the master bedroom, and they had the closet, the walk-in closet, and in the back of the closet is a little door. I mean, literally a little door. You have to be on your hands and knees to go through it.
Yeah.
and it goes off into the eaves, and that's where the house slaves for the master slept, so that they were close. When he woke up in the morning, they would be there to take care of his chamber pot and do all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, Flynn.
So I crawled in there, and when I turned around to come back out, on the inside of the wall that you couldn't see, the master would never have crawled in to this space, but he might have crouched down and looked into the space, right? On the wall where the door was, that you could never see from the door unless you went in and turned around to come back out, they had been practicing the alphabet and the numbers and learning to read and write on the wall inside the slave quarters. Okay. And I was talking to one of the professors there, and what they have determined is...
Was it Professor Bauer?
Hey, Professor Bauer.
Gentlemen.
He ran a seminary, and so what they believe is some of the abolitionist viewed students were secretly teaching the slaves on the campus to read and write, which was against the law at the time and stuff. But that was very cool, I thought.
There's my
boy. Boy.
Hi.
He's like my tall, lean hobbit with that.
I know. He's getting so tall, it's crazy. It's hard to
Flynn,
believe.
You've got a Beatles kind of thing going on with your hair there. Is that? I mean, that looks very cool.
It's very cool.
He doesn't know what Beatles haircut.
Probably not.
Mine was too damn curly back then. Yeah.
What, Uncle Dave?
I said, what's wrong with your education that he doesn't know who the Beatles are?
Yeah.
He knows who they are. He just doesn't know what their hairstyles were. The Beatles do. What's your favorite music?
I don't know.
What's your favorite color? Wrong. It's a bit from a movie. The Evil Wizard.
Have we not sat? We haven't sat down and watched that with him, have we?
No, not yet.
Oh, Flynn, that might be what happens on Saturday.
It's Monty
Python and the Holy Grail.
Evil Wizard. What's your favorite color? Yellow. No, blue. Ah! And he goes off into the chasm.
There are some who call me Tim.
Tim. The Evil Wizard. So, what's your favorite TV show?
I watch YouTube.
YouTube. What's your favorite YouTube show? Other than this one.
TV? What the hell is a TV?
What's TV? I got a phone. What's your favorite show? What do you like to watch when you watch? Is it Golden Girls?
Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Three's the Company?
Any of those?
Yeah. He doesn't even know what that is. You'll blow his mind. So, no, he likes the Star Wars shows. Clone Wars.
Clone Wars, yeah.
Are you uncomfortable with me talking to you on the radio? Making you talk? You're so talkative. I don't want to talk over you now. Let's see. What do you like to do with your free time?
That you can talk about on the radio.
Do what? Oh, video games?
Mm-hmm.
I knew that. What did you just hang up in your bedroom with the thumbtacks you gave me back?
Farrah Fawcett.
Tell people.
There you go.
Flag. Star Wars flag.
Bridget Bardot.
Bridget Bardot.
And Francis.
And
you know who the one that I know something about her personality was Andie MacDowell.
Oh yeah,
dude. Andie MacDowell.
Stone cold gorgeous.
Andie MacDowell was I'll have to show you the art sometime. Was the model I used, actress, but what's the word I'm looking for? She was the prototype for the character Caris Vieira in the Bloodlore Chronicles, my graphic novel. I did that in 1988. So, but Andie MacDowell, I don't know what the most famous
4
role
weddings
she
and a
was in,
funeral.
but probably
4 weddings and a funeral.
like
Oh.
Groundhog Day. She was in that.
I was just a fan of any pictures of her in a swimsuit.
Yep.
And if there was some way that I could get Bo Derek and Andy McDowell like merged, I think I might have had some kind of explosion.
I think the kids call that scissor.
Who is your favorite actress? Who would you like to have a favorite actress of a poster of her in your room? Anything come to mind? Don't go there, Dad. So,
well, I know that you guys were getting towards the end, and you were talking about ghosts and haunted stuff, Scotty.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I got to tell you, I had John in the background a little bit, but I got lost in the horror that's going on in Twitter right now. I've had an account for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years.
I was supposed to
never use it
over there today.
And so in fact, Leslie, I posted something this morning after I saw that it was official, and I was thinking, okay, it's going to be okay to kind of peek out behind the curtain and, see all the stuff that's going on. And it has been a shit show of shrapnel. And the memes have been unbelievably hilarious. And watching all of these folks lose their, it's a
lose their ever loving mind.
There's a mental decomposition, and this is something I've talked about on a couple of the shows where, when the reality of reality actually gets in contact with people's minds and what they think, there's going to be a lot of explosion of heads. And I think we just saw the first episode of that act, and it has been hilarious. So I've been on, I think I've posted, 10 or 12 tweets today, and that's more than I've done in 2 years.
I might have to go post something now.
I have 2 accounts out there. One that's just all my Hollywood friends, and one that's just my regular Minneapolis friends. And the Hollywood one got so bizarre while Trump was in office that I just sort of stopped going to it regularly because they were just completely deranged.
Yeah.
And stuff. I'll have to peek out again. I haven't been out for a while.
Be worth doing.
Well, I posted something earlier today, and Leslie Holker, she saw it and she said it was one of the memes. It was an awesome one. It was Musk with the Thanos and the
yes, I saw that.
and then just everybody dissolving.
Yes.
And Leslie said, I think you're making me think I should go check it out. So on Elon Musk's page, I posted Sting's Brand New Day song, the official video. And then for Leslie, I said, hey, come and join. Follow me. I put my handle up there. It's from my label. It's at Intuitive Sound, but it's Robert Bauer. And so I tagged her and I said, here's Freebird live from 1972.
Nice.
Let's spread your wings and fly. And I just had to say, it was absolutely, the people that are so distraught over this are literally in horror. They're acting like they're in a horror movie. It's just fascinating to watch.
Yeah, they're just all melting. It's crazy. He changed his handle to what? King Twit or Chief Twit?
Chief Twit.
Chief Twit. Chief Twit.
That whole thing with the sink yesterday was absolutely
that was
brilliant.
Beautiful.
And did you notice that it was not just any regular sink? It was a bathroom sink.
Yeah.
Bye, Flynn.
Bye, Flynn.
See you, Flynn. But to see the actual, today was a transformative event.
It really was.
Is going to set a lot of things in motion, as well as set kind of a standard, between Musk and Trump, and now DeSantis, and now this woman, Carrie Lake. Yep. There is a level of specificity in the language and the way that they deliver it that is just, it's extremely persuasive. These people have a whether they have studied it or it's just a natural part of their personality, there's a persuasive element that has just rushed in. And what's kind of interesting is it seems like it's just kind of like we've put the cake in the oven, and on November 8th it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's really, the energy feels that this was a minor seismic shift, but a seismic shift nonetheless.
Well, and these people are having their meltdown, and at the same time, he's saying, "Hey, we're going to put together a council of people that are a broad spectrum of people from all different walks of life, and we will look at content, and we will come up with, this is the content that will be blocked because it's outright offensive. You can't
Well, it has
just
to be, at a minimum, it has to be legal.
Yeah.
If it's any kind of illegal commentary or threats or anything like that, that is covered by free speech, and that you can say it, but that's where the consequence thing comes in. And
Right.
And you know what's interesting is that the people that are all upset, that are, the Twitter nuts, the Twitter twats, if you will, those have been, complaining about this, and the media, the pundits, all of the people that are pushing all this political crap are talking about these dire consequences, and they seem to be at least implying that at a minimum they may get canceled or banned, right?
Yep.
When in reality, that's not what they need to worry about. We want them on there. People, we want you to say the things that you say. What they're really afraid of is now they'll be challenged.
Yes.
Whereas before they won't.
They won't.
Well, and they'll have
before.
to hear, or they'll have the chance of seeing opinions they don't agree with.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's where this whole thing that I've been talking about in this knowledge transfer, people are now going to be able to be engaged like they should have been in a global public square.
Well, an actual dialogue.
Twitter is, and that's what Elon calls it. It's a public square, and it needs to be managed, but it doesn't need to be controlled. And the people will, it's like capitalism. Things that work in the market work out or don't work out because of what the market does with acceptance, right?
That's it.
So when you are now in a place where your product, which is one of the other things they keep going on about, they're trying to sell a product that nobody wants, and the only way they can sell it is to force it, or make it the only option that you have. Well, that's not the way that humans function, let alone this capitalism that we're in. But now there is an alternative to the product that they've been selling, and that will be made not only available to everyone else, but to the people who've only got one shitty product to sell.
Beth Kirkham is asking, I've been on Twitter for years. What's going to be new?
Well, you'll see more of us.
You'll see more Elon Musk.
There's going to be a lot more.
Here's a good entry to that discussion.
Ben
Shapiro just said, every time Twitter lets the clamps off, my follower count spikes today by over 40,000 people in just a few hours. That's not a coincidence.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think is fascinating, and again, going back to the narrative that they're trying to push down everybody's throats, some of the challenges have been statements like, or questions of, he must not be a very good businessman. He just spent $44 billion for a company that makes nothing.
Yeah,
because their balance sheet has been crap, right? They don't make money, right? And they seem to have completely missed Musk's own statement that I didn't buy this for a business. I didn't buy it for the money. Okay, so forget about that as a business thing. But what's interesting is that the advertisers are going to sit back and take a pause, see how much shit they get for from the small class of the noisiest, whiny folks that create all the chaos and the angst. Okay, they are small, and I've been saying this too. It's this noisy small group, and they're going to be exposed very quickly because they're not going to be able to handle all of the truth bombs and the challenges, whether there's truth in the challenges or not. But the simple act of being challenged and having to be able to, shall we say, vet your ideas and do it publicly, support them with enough logic and reason that it becomes a sellable product that people will consume.
I've got an article here from the AV Club. I have no idea what their political slant is, but in a lengthy notes app statement, Elon Musk asserts he bought Twitter to help humanity. And he assures followers he didn't buy Twitter to make more money, and definitely did the whole thing out of humility. Well, it's official. Elon Musk owns Twitter, and he's being predictably obnoxious about it. So you can already tell the slant of this organization.
It'll be interesting.
According to a new lengthy notes app statement from the world's richest man, Musk didn't purchase Twitter to acquire more wealth or a more secure playground for complaining about the rings of power. And the way he tells it, Musk's intention is buying Twitter is actually to help humanity. In the statement, Musk details in further depth the reasoning behind his acquisition of Twitter. The statement finds Musk's standard self-important tone leaning less toward teenage troll and more toward condescendingly benevolent overlord.
Jesus.
Yeah, there you go.
That was a not only mental gymnastics, but a word salad.
Yeah.
Of it.
And here's Musk's own words. What he said, he says, the reason I acquired Twitter is because it's important to the future of civilization to have a common digital town square where a wide range of beliefs can be debated in a healthy manner without resorting to violence. I didn't do it because it would be easy. I didn't do it to make more money. I did it to try to help humanity, whom I love. And I do so with humility, recognizing that failure in pursuing this goal, despite our best efforts, is a very real possibility.
Mark my words. He's going to tie this into Starlink and make it a town square for the whole planet so that Iranians can speak their truth, the Chinese can speak their truth, the Taiwanese can speak their truth, and everybody can, and the governments won't be able to squelch it.
Yes.
Because like I've said before, if the people can talk to each other, they're not going to buy the bullshit that their governments are spreading, that these people in this country are bad or whatever.
I think you're absolutely right. And remember the one of my rants about technology and the blockchain and all of that, and how your identity and sovereignty of that identity is what's coming next.
Yep.
And the tokenization of everything will be tokenized. And then whether it's tied to a crypto or not depends on the type of token. But everything you do, all the events, transactions, your identity, and everything will be tokenized.
Yep.
There's the whole the big confusion and buzz and muck in the tech world is all about AI and about how artificial intelligence is making such profound advances to the point where, and I'll send you some links, Scotty, for you to see if you haven't, to the point where artificial intelligence created art is winning art fairs.
I've seen that.
Okay. So, and there's the whole idea of the digital assistant and how you actually interact with them. The one thing they seem to haven't been able to crack yet is humor, but they've got sarcasm down. You can already hear that through your Alexa.
AI's got sarcasm
right?
down.
They got that down. But my point is this: Musk, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Twitter morph into this fully digital integrated platform where it's not a blue check. You are blockchained. Your ID and your sovereignty of self will be digitized and validated. And here's the example is this: Tesla, his electric car company, is not about cars. It's a power company.
Yeah.
Cars are just the first expression of using
the toy that you can use it with.
Right. So I think Twitter, and it may change into a different name, because when you think about a complete digital platform that enables the communication, you're going to be able to buy things on it. It'll have its own commerce capabilities and system. So don't be surprised if Musk pulls this out and morphs it into the next generation.
And I don't care. I don't care.
And the other thing that's going to happen with it, once he gets his base on Mars and they start doing that, he will have relay stations between here and Mars, and you will be able to use that as a platform to chat with your relatives on Mars and vice versa.
Exactly.
So you're not cut off from them.
Exactly.
So
I mean, so I think this is much his thing for humanity. That's what he means. He means being able to take and give people the control over their sovereignty, over their ID, through taking this platform that is this town square. What is, when you go to a town square, what do you do? When you go to a festival, you barter.
Yep.
Somebody's got something to sell and you want to buy it.
Well, here's the whole thing in answering Beth Kirkham's question. Very simply, Twitter, one of the big three, was one of those that had such a deeply embedded, ingrained system of fact checking, quote unquote, that but they also had a bias that they were supporting. And so there were many people like Ben Shapiro, which Beth, you said you like Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro, he would be, there were algorithms written for somebody that expressed things that were against the agenda or the narrative that Twitter wanted out there, which was more to the left, more liberal. Those people would be sunk down in the algorithms and they would lose their followership. And it's like Ben Shapiro said, and today in just a few hours, I gained 40,000 listeners.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at this article here by Politico.com. And they say that Elon Musk says he won't let Twitter become a free-for-all hellscape, which is what they want to paint it to be. It would be a hellscape. You can obviously see they're trying to counter what he's saying. But Elon Musk said he offered a glimpse into his plans for Twitter in an open letter to advertisers. It was posted on the eve of his highly anticipated $44 billion acquisition. And in the letter posted on Twitter on Thursday, the Tesla and SpaceX CEO said he does not want the site to become a free-for-all hellscape where anything can be said with no consequences. An apparent rhetorical shift from Musk's previous promise to change Twitter. No, that is not a shift. Everything has to have standards. I get that. It's when the standards, when you invite a general audience to come in and express yourself. And we've got community standards here, but those community standards start to become political standards. That's what he's fighting. And they're saying, well, he said he was going to do away with that. Now he's not. He's going to have standards. Oh, my God.
I think one of the things that is not thought about, and which is really, if you think about it, the whole narrative and the conflict is around this one thought. And that is that in the town square, as in a capitalist and free market environment, the market dictates what is good and what stays and what doesn't. So I think what'll happen is all of this complaining these people are doing is because they're afraid of what's going to be asked of them.
They're afraid that he's going to run the place the way they would run it.
Well, but my point is that there's going to be so much challenge of their position and their tweets and so forth that the market will weed out this stuff. People will eventually, after they get beat up for their nonsense and mayhem that they cause, they're going to get beat up enough and they're going to stop, or they're not going to be able to handle that. So that will, the market will push it out, is my point.
And by the way, you can tell the political slant of Politico. You can see their political slant in this article by comments like this. Musk's comments raised doubts about his plan to allow former President Donald Trump back on the site after he was banned for tweets inciting violence during the January 6th insurrection. Now, that statement alone tells you what the position of this political position of this news organization is.
Yep.
They didn't report that as Twitter made a claim or Twitter purported or Twitter said that he was banned for tweets inciting violence during January 6th insurrection, they're calling it. Right there, that was single sentence alone tells you the political slants of Politico. And it's not reporting the news, it's giving a slant on the news. Because it hasn't been proven that Donald Trump was banned for inciting violence.
It's perpetuating a narrative that is designed to get people to talk about it and question and go, well, is it possible that Trump really did that? I mean, everything that it doesn't matter if it's Trump or anybody, it's mainly anybody that they don't have the same views. And it's not even that they don't have the same views. They want to establish the view that all should have.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a bunch that don't know the view. There's a bunch that have a different view. And this one group is doing battle with both because they're saying, this is what is, not what you think. What you think is wrong for XYZ and whatever part of the alphabet and integers they want to add.
Yes.
But the approach has been to redefine the concepts, the constructs, the ways in which society and cultures that we are in and have been for a long time act. They're trying to enforce change that the majority of the market doesn't want. They're not interested in those belief systems and those ideologies. So the pushback and their reaction to the pushback is what's fascinating to watch. And as I said, I think that the market is going to push it out sooner than I think most people think. Yeah. And it'll end up being, it'll be a market driven town square.
Yes.
Which is what a town square is. It's there because there is a market, a community that.
And what does a town square do? A town square does not diminish the input of political of opposing political views.
Nope.
In favor of its own political view. The town square is supposed to be the place where all
where it's
sides are allowed equal airing.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that the squares where you can get up there and you can, read what you've written, sing what you've sung, show what you've got, do what you've done. And if the reaction is positive, then you're going to be able to stay there, and you will probably be and
I'm going to say bingo to what Chuck just said. He said 90% of the media is biased. But yeah, it is. I'd say 100% of the media is biased. Very little is not. So maybe 99%.
Chuck, I love that photograph.
And people need to listen to ones of both sides and decide what's true for themselves. And I agree 100% with Chuck. What you were getting at Twitter, though, and some of the big three, was a more liberal narrative, liberal for lack of a better word, a more left-swinging narrative that didn't want to give voice to the other side of the equation,
because they knew they couldn't engage in the theater of ideas with the content they have, engaging with those who have a different opinion, and that is where at some point, first of all, that's used and overused. That we see it from the people that are supposedly the president and vice president, and who those people are, and then this whole thing with Pelosi and her husband. I mean, the guy had a DUI earlier in the year, and then he apparently got whacked in the head. He's been hammered twice this year already.
Earlier today, he went into some emergency surgery.
Yeah,
injuries sustained from something. I don't know what.
Well, clearly they're going to do a huge political spin on this. I'd like to get all the details. I'd like to know, first of all, was he an illegal alien? Was he homeless? The one thing they did say is that for a long time he lived in a nudist colony as some sort of freelance artist, and I like, well, that's the bastion of conservativeness. So I'm like,
well, there's I've heard some interesting stories about this, which sounds kind of out there, but the circumstances kind of fit him. But apparently, Paul is got some interest in younger males and has been that way for a while. And what they're saying is that the oddity of 2:30 in the morning, Security systems didn't catch anything. The apparent glass that was broken with a hammer was broken from the inside, not the outside.
Oh, and he was in his underwear.
And the police were there like that. And so there seems to be some potential that there's a bunch of, kind of odd, dark potential stuff going on, because at the minimum, you can certainly speculate it with the data that's known now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the whole thing. One of the things I was blown away with is they showed their home. Did you see those pictures?
I didn't see those.
Okay.
I did.
So it's in San Francisco, and they're just these 2-story buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them have different stuff on it, but theirs is right on the corner. And there's just a shitload of them. I looked at it and I said, that's where they live, and they have all that money. I mean, it seems like you wouldn't want the third person in the line for the or second person for the president of the United States living in this little place that's unprotected. It seems kind of odd.
Yeah.
At least to me.
Well,
but
anyways,
anyways,
they have a ton of money for their wealth level.
That was part of my point. I could see people living in that, but not the Speaker of the House. That just didn't look like
they probably rent it out.
But they're using. Here's the thing: is that I think there's a number of these things appear to have some kind of correlation and or causation, depending on the data points you use to see what's going on. It's like all this crap going on about the Ukraine and the war, and there's now everybody's starting to get on. The people on the left are starting to go, wait a minute, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Everybody else is going, this really is enough. We need to, because this isn't the whole thing for the war is not a war. It's about taking over the resources in that region,
the Donbass,
right? And the majority of them are apparently Russian, but Putin, I think it's interesting. People are going on about nuclear war and dirty bombs and tacticals and all this, and it's like it doesn't have to get that far for everybody to get where they want to be.
Exactly.
But the election is a week from next Tuesday, right?
Yeah, 10 days.
What are your guys' thoughts now on the question of do you think the elections will happen?
Oh, I think
will happen. They'll happen.
Yeah, I think they'll happen.
I tend to think, and I'll just throw this out there very quick. I think you're going to see, and I don't say this from bias, I say this from watching the way the process is working right now, the kind of feedback you're getting. I think you're seeing there's not going to be a red wave. I think there's going to be a red meteor, like the extinction of the dinosaurs. I think you're going to see an election take place that is going to bring into extinction maybe a lot of the young, very far left extremist progressive Democrat platform. You're going to see a lot of that, I think, destroyed in this election.
I'm going to add to that and say that the down ticket in the local elections, no one's paying attention to that. I think you're going to see Republicans take a lot of mayor's seats, a lot of city councils, definitely a lot of school boards, and
even sheriffs and judges.
Sheriffs, judges, and governors. And I think that that as much as everybody's focused on the House, what they're setting up is that we're just not going to let Dems have as much control as we've given them for a long time.
Yeah.
We're going because it's real obvious where we need to keep control is locally. That when all the stuff with the school boards came out and they said parents that speak up at school board meetings are domestic terrorists, that changed everything on the home front.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, I am not a domestic terrorist because I don't want my kid to have pornography in the 3rd grade.
That's right. That's right.
WTF.
People are rejecting that message in a big way. And the problem you have,
I don't care if somebody's gay or straight.
The problem you have is that the media itself has a bias. Yes, everybody's got a bias of one kind or another. You have a lot fewer conservatively biased news media outlets than you do leftist media outlets. So when that media controls the message that's going out, you're not going to hear that very strongly. And so you've got to look at it, look for it in other places. See you smiling, Professor Bauer.
Well, yeah, you just made me think about,
Yep,
what I was just saying about how the way that, at least in my opinion, that Musk will take Twitter out to, and it will create a real Twitterverse.
Yeah.
It will be this, like I said, the blockchain tokenized sovereignty and identity that we will all need and we all want because it's us, right? I think he'll deliver that in Twitter. But the point is that it'll expand. When he said town square, that and positioned it that way, I think that mental image has now changed the way, or at least been added to, and will eventually change people's concept of what Twitter has been. And I think that's a positive thing. But the thing that made me think of is on the legacy media, right? On the major networks, right? That whole medium, think of that as the way Twitter is, right? It's this legacy system of channeled content and advertising that enables that content to be, that is based on apparent numbers where eyeballs are apparently getting on the content, right? That's how the whole advertising model, the economic model, works in that media, in that system. Well, that whole thing, it has got to change too. And the only way it can change is by people creating their own content, like we're doing here, right?
Yes.
Like you do every night. And because that content, I got to tell you, I would say probably at least 30 or 40% of the really good stuff that I see is when I'm on it with other people.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from, seeing, Carlson and Peterson, all these what's incredible is that these individually creative content creators are now available without having to go through that other system.
Right. I like what Chuck says here. He says on the far right that will fall on their own sword. The problem is, in the real world, extremes rarely work unless you're Iran or the
North Korea.
And you are NK. Sorry. And I think you're right, Chuck, in that we've experienced an extreme for several years now, at least 2 to 3 years.
Well,
and that extreme has got to go away. And
the extreme on both sides is what we've seen.
Yes.
And I think what'll happen is, because that extreme has been so extreme, it's been in its own outlets. And I mean, if you didn't consume any of the legacy media, you wouldn't know shit was going on.
Right.
And the shit you would know if you were watching it you would, if you were smart, you'd go, it's because they say this, I'm going to go look over here.
Yeah.
Because
I think that the reality is this, that the average person, okay, the bulk, the majority of the voters, Democrat and Republican, are more centrist, much more moderate. And they look at both parties and go, wow, you people have gone way off on the left side have gone way off the deep end, and you people on the right are a little bit scary. And what we want is a government that just gets shit done and fixes the roads and takes care of it
and leaves us alone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Leave me alone to say the word monkey if I want to. Now that's not legislation. Steve Clark asked about that story, but I agree with you, Chuck. Nobody wants the far right and nobody wants the far left, and everybody's sick and tired of the bullshit.
And the thing is that the market has got a huge fire hose dose of both over the last 5 or 6 years at a minimum. And it's actually been longer than that, but it's gotten intense the last 5 or 6 years. So everybody's gotten hosed with it. And they're like,
amplified
turn it off.
Yeah.
The media has amplified that by only spreading what they want us to hear and think.
Right.
Okay. When Trump says America first, he's not saying America only, and he's not saying
not doing
America
nationalism
first
like Hitler did,
like
as
Hitler
he was
did.
colored
What
as.
he's saying, and I often liken it to this: you're a landlord. How much are you going to pay me to move into your apartment? And you're like, well, I'm not going to pay you. You're going to pay me. Well, you're going to think of yourself before you think of me, the homeless person, you know? And then they're like, because I have a friend, he's one of Scott's friends too, but we've both been ostracized because we supported Trump. But
yeah,
he thinks of Trump as a Nazi. He's a landlord. And I'm like, you're not paying your tenants to live in your buildings. You're collecting rent from them.
You're collecting
You're
rent,
thinking of your pocketbook before you think of theirs. And they're suffering. You should be paying them to live in your building. And he's like, well, that's ridiculous. You know, I got to take care of myself first. And I'm like, and that's what Trump's saying. If we're going to do a treaty with Mexico, let's make sure we're taking care of our people first. And then we can see how we can help them with the profits that we're making.
Yeah, there it is.
That's capitalism. That's a free market. That's the free exchange of two individuals that have value they want to trade.
Yes, and so
taking a re-examined and fresh look at what is value. Well, my value is this. And then you have to look at the systems that are used that place the market value on the things that you find of value, and then you figure out how much value can I make to exchange for this much of that value, and that is as simple as it should be.
Yeah,
but and that's how he ran his businesses. When you look at him buying Trump water, and they're like, well, he hasn't made any money on that. He didn't buy Trump water to make money. He bought Trump water to save money, because at all of his properties, he has cases and cases of water on the golf courses, at the hotels, whatever, for people to buy or to drink.
And why is that, Dave? Why do they think that way? What information are they missing? What does it take to have fucking water?
Right, but I think, but I look at it. They think that if you're in business, you must want to make a profit on everything you own. It's not that. Sometimes you're just cutting your expenses. If I own the plant that's running that's creating the water, I don't have to buy cases of water. I just have them shipped where I want them. And then
what you're saying is that there's
when there's a disaster, he can send 20 semis load of water that say Trump on it to that hurricane zone, and it's just advertising for him.
So it sounds like what you're saying is there's a perspective of profit that has an issue. It's the profit that has an issue, right?
Right.
That's what the issue is. So,
but that's where the liberals are coming from.
Well, yeah. It's just what I'm saying is that just shows in the whatever information set they use to arrive at the way they think and support what they're saying, it apparently is missing information.
Well,
because if you gave them the information that you just explained, if they had that available to them, then they would have it. They would have to sit there and think, well, maybe I don't need to think that way about that, because that's part of the problem. People don't think about why they think about what they think about, or what's the reason behind it. So simple things like you have to make profit in the exchange of value, not only between individuals, but between groups and communities. I think we're going to see is self-organizing communities. So there'll be people like artists like ourselves that will form, a group of individuals will be able to join this community, and it'll have its own token, and we will be able to assign the exchange of stuff amongst us and all agreed upon value and tokens. And we'll be able to just do it without anything else involved other than our identities and the codes that we use for the registry on the blockchain. It's going to be that simple. And what will be really cool is these self-organizing communities will be people of interest. They will have certain skills or talents or interests or needs or whatever, and they'll become communities that will work for those in the community. It'll be this liberating, barter system on massive steroids and amphetamines and whatever else, maybe a line or two of Coke. But it's going to be so, the way in which it will form will be so transformative that people will go, why didn't we always do it this way?
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to look at historically what was going on, and you'll have more information about what really was going on and how it was done by whom. And you'll be just like we have historic, a historical perspective on the things that we are interested in is fascinating. Scotty, you with your archaeology and history and mythologies, right?
Mhm.
Dave with your painting, me with my music. We have this individually, we all have this kind of skill or this kind of talent. And sometimes people don't know what they are. Others, you just like us, we go, yep, that's what I do. I
Yep.
do that because it makes me really happy and I really enjoy doing it. And it's really good. And apparently the market likes it too.
And by the way, I will say to Chuck Thurston, Chuck, no, we will never agree on Trump, but you are right. We will all agree on the same thing. We want everybody to live up. We want things to get better for everybody and everybody to, how did you say it here? You said, we can all agree to disagree, but all we want to continue is for the best for us all. And I agree. And
and my arguing on Trump was not to say Trump is the guy, but to
I'm
say
not saying he's the best
reason
thing.
that the derangement is out there is unfounded. They are looking at everything. They're trying to find the negative in everything instead of just looking at what he's actually saying and doing.
I have seen no more individual in politics or government more maligned and demonize and attempt to find every little flaw in this man.
Investigated.
Always comes up empty.
This guy
He
has
must
had
be spit
everybody up
incarnate.
his ass and down his throat, in and out of his ears, and in and out of his nose for 6 or 7 years now.
Yeah.
And they got nothing.
Sure,
And you
I'm
sit there
pretty
and go,
sure it wouldn't take that much work to put me in prison. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
You get me in
we
prison
all
a
go
lot
down.
quicker.
We all go down just after the jury selection.
Right. Well, we'll leave that alone. And by the way, guys, it's 45 minutes since I was supposed to end the show. I have a family upstairs and I'm going to get to. And some of the kids are even late watching TV right now because it's Friday night. We're going to stay up late. It's Friday. So
God, I
I'm going to
remember
get
those
out of
days.
here. That means you guys, you two, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I'm going to tell that to everybody.
actually, technically, I think we can, because when you fell off before, we were
That
still
was
on.
interesting. If
Yeah,
I
I
left
didn't
the
know that
channel
was
open.
Yeah, I
If I
tried to
left the
pop in,
channel
and I
open,
thought,
we
well,
could
there'd be
talk.
my chance, just Dave and I to have a chat.
But
Yeah, you
But
but
he
I
didn't
don't
have
have
access,
control
so-
from this end.
Yeah.
So yeah, our internet went down. We have the weakest internet in the world in this town, and it's the next best thing to dial up.
Were you
So-
surprised to find us still there when you came back?
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to hold the show. I
Yeah.
don't know what held that on, other than I did not end the broadcast officially by
Probably
the
it.
button. So StreamYard was still putting out the show.
Does StreamYard yet let you have moderators that can bring people into the show for you?
I have not seen that. I'd like to find out if they do.
Because if that were the case, you could make the Prof and I moderators, and that way, if you fell off, we could just bring people into the show and continue
Well,
on.
I was paying the premium over there when I was on my own. Now I'm on Subspace Radio's StreamYard, but on my own, I was paying like $59 a month. I think it was something like that.
On StreamYard?
StreamYard, 49 or 59. I can't remember the exact cost. It was the highest level you could go, I think, so I could have all the features.
Yeah.
And there were some features I found out I don't have any features. I'm missing this feature. So anyway, 1G. Good luck with that, Chuck. I'm surprised you could type that whole sentence. So on 1G. So anyway, guys, I'm going to say
So good
goodnight to
seeing you
Uncle
guys.
Dave and to Professor Bauer. Professor, good to see you. You have a good
Thank you,
rest of your
gentlemen,
night. Thanks for contributing. I love what you have to say and bring to the
Yeah.
table.
Well, I always got to try it out on somebody, and you're the
That's
first
right.
one I
We're
get
the-
to.
I think you just
Don't
called
ever
us
see you on
rats,
Sunday
Dave.
morning. Do you just not get up that early, or
What time is that on Sunday? 10?
9 o'clock
early
a.m.
fucking in the morning?
8 a.m. your time.
Oh, no. That's
Hell
not
no.
happening.
Oh, there was
No.
well, what time did your show air? 8 o'clock Sunday. Well, I guess I won't make it. So, all right.
All right, gentlemen. Have a great weekend. Jeff,
Take
care.
Bye.
All right.
Uncle Dave. Talk
Tomorrow.
to you later.
All right.
All right. You have a good night.
Yep. Bye.
See you. Bye. All right, folks. And it's just you guys and me now. And so I'm going to get out of here. And so I appreciate all of you being here, all of you giving me your time. That means a lot to me. And I appreciate it more than you can know. If you are not subscribed to my channel here, please subscribe. Give this show a thumbs up if you haven't already. That helps my algorithms to some extent. And if you're not joined as a member of the channel, hit the little join button. You'll find out how you can be one. So that's over on my YouTube, by the way, in case you wondered. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to get out of here. You all have a good night. And I will see you on Sunday morning. Live long and prosper.